that's the state of my channel right now. And if you have followed me or watched my stuff in the past, you know it's been quite a few months since I've posted. So, for the first time in quite a while, my name is Lodrin, you're a bunch of nerds, and welcome to a video on failure. Specifically my failure. Because the reason that this channel has had few videos is largely a result of the absolute chaos and hecticness of my life and the somewhat bad results that have come out of that, such as me not posting on this channel. Now this video is the actual first video I've ever that's completely unscripted. Obviously I don't script out all my videos in advance. I usually have a Google Doc in front of me with like 100 words on it, just give me an outline, but for this I just want to be here talking to you. If you want to watch, great. If you're at all interested in my life, that's really cool. But I'm just going to talk about all the places I have failed, how I'm adapting to that, and why I think that failure is ultimately not a bad thing, just something that happens to everybody. So I'm going to get some rapid fire ones out of the way. In these past 3 months, I have done quite a few things that I have not quite succeeded in. I just got my AMC results back a couple days ago. I didn't qualify for the AME. If you don't know any math competitions, it means I failed the test. And my running goals, I'm a huge runner. At least I like to say I am, because I try to run 5 days a week. But early on in the fall, it was looking great. I got below 28 minutes for the first time on a 4-mile run. I set a goal to run 6 miles in under 42 minutes, which is a 7-minute pace. If you know anything about running, that's pretty decent for someone who doesn't actually run competitively. But once again, I failed. These past few months, I've run only a couple times a week. It has been really inconsistent, and my times have not been dropping. I can feel my health also dropping. I'm not able to be as physically fit as I once was. And I think the reason a lot of this is happening, as we'll talk a lot more later, is because I joined my school's theater program, which is quite an intensive program. It's almost every day after school for many, many hours. But even in this theater program, which I invested so much time in, I failed in many ways. Because not only did I fail actually on stage, I made some mistakes, mumbled on my words, but more importantly, I didn't get the role I wanted. I had a really small role in the play. It was nowhere near my goal, and that hurt. For a while, I felt that these small things, were really adding up and hurting me. Because yes, I see myself as a math nerd. I see myself as someone who doing well at math is a part of my identity. So failing the AMC hurts. I see myself as someone who wants to be an athlete, who wants to be athletic. So seeing my times drop and not be able to run as fast as I once could, that hurts. And most importantly, this theater, which is what I've invested most of my time into these last few months, seeing it go away and seeing ultimately me not gain as much skill in acting as I thought I would, that does hurt. And these failures are unfortunately just how life's going to be. If you set goals, you will lose to your goals. And that's something I'm seeing more and more as I've become more ambitious. In the past, my main goals were just get through the day, do my homework, and then some video games once I got home at night. And when you're doing that, it's a lot harder to fail. Because what's the worst case scenario? You have a night where you don't play video games and don't have much fun. But when we start getting to our senior year of high school, when you're looking at colleges and you're looking at future, failure can hurt a lot more. You feel like you failing now is going to damage your future prospects. And if you're like me and you're taking on a lot of projects your senior year, well, there's just a lot more opportunity for you to fail. But failure is not bad. Do I really need to spend more time in this math? Do I really need to be invested in theater along with all the other activities I do? At the end of the day, the failures are really just a way to stop you from doing too much. If you never failed, every instant of every moment of your day would be filled with completing goals. If I were to succeed in every goal I'd set for myself, well, I would be having to spend hours a day practicing instruments. I would spend hours out doing athletics. And these goals just aren't realistic. So at the end, oftentimes failure is just a natural result of setting too many goals for yourself, something that I have suffered from a lot. But failure that I think is much more important to you guys watching, if you're someone who's subscribed to me or just someone coming the first time, is the fact that I failed to post videos. Because when I first started this channel, my goal was to do videos at least 3 times a week, preferably every day. I thought, oh, how hard can it take to do a not very edited video just talking about Quizbowl picks, something I already spent so much time on. But if you've looked at my upload for the past 3 months, they are non-existent. And that's because of all the things I tried to do. Once again, I try to put too much on my plate, fail at this goal. But the reason that I care so much more about this goal specifically is because this here is a creative outlet for myself. And I found that when I stopped posting videos, I often had a lot of extra energy or extra ideas in my head that I just couldn't get out in any other way. And that was annoying. But this was largely a result of joining theater. And I'm assuming most people here are not part of school's theater program. I was not a part of the theater program until 3 months ago when I decided to audition. And it was one of the biggest changes of my life. If you've seen any of my older videos, older being 3 months ago, they sounded very different. I've gained energy. I've changed as a person as a result of doing theater. So yes, this failure in these videos has hurt, and it's ruined this one creative outlet for me over these past few months. But as a actually opened up a completely different thing, a joy in love for acting. And well, yes, I'm not going to act in college. I'm going to theater, or I'm going to college for chemistry, for goodness sake. At the end of the day, theater is something that will always stick with me. And I think failure is okay for this reason. You can't succeed in every goal because sometimes there are new things open up, new avenues you want to pursue. A big part of theater for me was not being the best, not trying the hardest. I didn't have that many lines. I wasn't spending every moment of practice practicing for the play. Rather, a lot of time spent with people, work my social skills, pretend to be an extrovert. What I realized is that even though I can't change that internally I am an introvert, I don't enjoy being around people for too long periods of time, it's fun. Being an extrovert be so much more fun than being an introvert is. So I'm forcing myself into these situations. I'm forcing myself to become more social. And I think that is what theater has done that is so important for me. So I would say that while as unfortunate as it is that I'm failing in these YouTube video uploads, it is great that theater has helped. Of course, there's another reason I'm failing though, and that's because of laziness. Because I'm a human, just like all of you, hopefully, who are watching right now. And when you are human, you don't spend every hour of your day doing work. Yes, I can spend 8 hours at school. Even at school, I'm not working every minute. And that leaves me more homework that I have to do when I get home. And when I do get home, you better believe I'm going to be playing Brawl Stars. But in addition to Brawl Stars, there's eating food and talking to my family and just sitting around doing nothing. There's all this stuff that gets in the way and it pushes stuff like this out of it. And I think that is an issue because it's largely a result of burnout. If you watch my burnout from a few came before any of my Quizbowl videos. And I've talked about all these different ways, all these different suggestions I had for avoiding burnout. And I was really, really proud of the video. I felt like I never burned out before. This is something that I could greatly help people who are struggling with it. And months later, I need the help. And I never did rewatch that video, and maybe I should have. Because when I felt burned, all I wanted to do was sit around and do nothing. Watch YouTube, maybe watch TV, just twiddle my thumbs. And at the end of the day, that was sad. Because these goals I'd set in my life weren't being succeeded, not just as a result of theater, but as a result of me just sitting around doing nothing. Which is why I'm making this video, to get started again. Our productions ran last weekend, officially done as part of my theater program for the entirety of my senior year, which I'm still coming to terms with. So I have time for this. And now my new goal is once again to go back to that ambitious one I had, a new video, every single day. And yes, I might fail. There are going to be days I missed. But I know that by scripting at school, by getting ready and doing these not very edited, pretty low effort videos just talking about Quizbowl, I hopefully can start to develop it. Because what I've seen when I was gone these last 3 months is that there is a real market for this. Most of you watching right now are probably Quizbowl players, and that is amazing to me. I've had so many comments from people probably better at Quizbowl than me, thanking me for help, talking about their study tips. I had a guy mention how he believed poetry is easier than prose, and I think that's great. This discussion around Quizbowl, this nerd topic that most of us probably only have 2 or 3 friends who are all interested in, is amazing. I only have one friend who I really talk to about quiz in real life. So if I want to create online this opportunity for us just to continue developing in this activity that I believe many of us love. So that is why I'm trying to commit to the visual. However, the thing I haven't mentioned yet, and the perhaps most disappointing part, the place I felt for weeks depressed because I thought I had failed the most, is in my college applications. Because ever since I was young and I was told all these things, you have a tremendous gift, Owen. Look at these scores you're getting. And I was like, look at this. Lodrin, Owen's my real name, but Lodrin, this person can do these things like math, science. These are my gifts. This is what's in my head. It's something that I was always excelled at, always was able to do well. But the thing I never talked to people about is the pressure that this put on myself. Because I always just assumed, oh, well then one day I'll pursue Ivy Leagues, I'll pursue all this upper level education stuff. But once it came to the beginning of my senior year, I did more research. And I realized I couldn't, because these places would reject me. Yes, I have good test scores and a decent transcript, but at the end of the day, I don't have that leadership experience. I don't have the extracurriculars, the research projects that these people are really looking for. Because to be honest, I hadn't put enough effort into that. I failed at many did try because I started them too late. And that hurt. That really, really hurt because I realized that this thing that I had told myself was a dream was never going to happen. But fast forward a few weeks, and it becomes clear to me that these Ivies, these pursuits of colleges that seniors destroy their life, it's not that important. Because what really matters is what you do with your life beyond college. And any university is just going to be a means for doing that. I talk to my advisor, my counselor at school. I talk to my parents. I talk to many people I already know in college. And what I'm seeing more and more is that at the end of the day, anyone can get an education from anywhere. This community that I'm a part of online, this nerdy academic community, often puts much pressure on people. I felt bad when I made my AP score reaction because I knew I would be putting pressure on people similar scores, and to put in so much effort into something that's really not worth it. Because what being online in these communities does is see all these people getting accepted into Duke and Stanford and Harvard, and you're excited for them at first, but you're also jealous. You're so jealous because you think that should be you. And that's what I felt. Because I'm like, well, if these people can do it, of course I can. My test scores are better. But once I realized I couldn't, I was forced to move on. So I looked to other colleges. The one I am going to, or I will talk more about this once the actual admissions decisions come out. I don't want to say anything before I'm actually accepted to these schools. But I realized that these public state schools are often better because they give you much more money to get there. They're making it a lot cheaper. They're a lot closer to home. And even though they're not going to give you the same high level academia experience that a place like Princeton and Yale will give you, they're often, the majority of the time, much better for the people involved. Yes, most of us will fail at our dream school. Because if I were to guess, the majority of the high school students watching this video right now, their dream school is an Ivy. And if I were to guess of how many students visiting right now or watching this video right now are going to go to an Ivy, it would be less than a dozen. Because these Ivy schools are so out of reach for the vast majority of people. What many don't realize is that these Ivies put crazy high price tags because they know that the richest, the elite, are going to pay it. The truth of these colleges is that they can find nerds from anywhere. We are not special. We're just more to them. And if they can find a nerd from a rich family that will pay the full tuition, they're going to take that. And once they accept that extremely wealthy nerd who's going to pay the full $90K a year to go there, they can then give financial aid to those less fortunate. I think it's an amazing program. The fact that some Ivies allow students who have a familia under 200K to go there for free is amazing. These programs are necessary, but sometimes you're unlucky. Sometimes you're not a part of these programs. And that's because you probably have many other privileges. You're given a roof over your head. You've been given all this opportunities in high school that lower income people have not. So what helped me get over my jealousy is realizing that these Ivy League and top level institutions are built for those who can pay the insanely high prices, those who are willing to go into crazy high student debt, and those less fortunate who need this as a chance to get further in their careers. And realizing this made me see that yes, failure is real. I failed to get into Harvard. Obviously, I didn't end up applying, but if I did apply, I know I would fail because I don't have the extracurriculars. But why does that matter? Because the college that I will end up going to is going to give me all the same opportunities. I'm going to be joining a Quizbowl team. I'm going to be going out and joining the same clubs, taking the same classes that I would at Harvard. It just won't have that same brand name recognition. And once students are able to reckon with that, reckon with the idea that Ivies shouldn't be the end goal, that an Ivy League school is not the peak for 99% of students, then it will help you deal with failure. It will help you deal with it because you will no longer be obsessed with getting into these schools. I spent so much time at college applications just thinking about the essays. But you know what I wish I had done? I wish I had done all the essays in 10 minutes apiece. Set that as the maximum time limit. Yes, I could have revised them later, but if I put just 10 minutes of time into each essay and invest so much more time in other aspects, such as this YouTube channel, such as studying more for the AMC competition, and working more hard at getting good at acting, I know I would have been happier. I know I would have been more successful in my goals because I was not over stressing over this college. My final piece of advice is this. I failed a lot this fall. Just to go over it again, I failed at getting to that next level of the math competition. I failed at reaching my athletic goals. I failed at getting into the college I wanted to get into. I failed at being the part in the play I wanted to get. And most of all, I failed making these videos. This thing that brings me joy, I just simply didn't do. And if I could have one takeaway, the only thing I would change about these failures was to not care. Because if I don't care about 4 of these failures, then it would make the 5th one not happen at all. If I had not cared so much about not getting to a college I wanted to get into, then I would have had so much more time to invest into this. It would have fixed my mental health, put me in a much better place. And that's the truth of the matter. That's the end goal. So at this point, I'm assuming most people are not watching anymore. If you are, thank you very much. I really hope some from this video was helpful, and I want to hear from you. Because if you are a Quizbowl competitor like me, you have similar experiences. You probably grew up very introverted, afraid to talk. It was me. I spent 5 years in Quizbowl not enjoying it because I was scared. Joining speech and debate, though, and joining my school's theater program brought this side out of me. And I realized that there's so much more to this, and I want to help others do the same. So if you have any questions at all, any video ideas, anything about Quizbowl that you're wondering or need help with, ask me. If you want help as a general senior, applying to college tips, trust me, I've seen quite a few videos. I can help. And if you just want to leave a comment, do it. If you want to leave a comment, my glass is stupid, do it. Sorry this video wasn't very funny. Sorry it was very rambly. I promise we'll get back to more Quizbowl videos, hopefully tomorrow. And if you are still sticking around, thank you very much. But I have been Lodrin. Once again, you guys are nerds. You specifically are a nerd for staying, what is this now, 18 minutes into this crazy long video. And I'll see you next time.